Imagine traveling back to a world nearly impossible to recognize. Long before humans, dinosaurs, or even trees, Earth experienced a series of catastrophic events that nearly erased life from existence. These are the 5 greatest mass extinctions in our planet's history, beginning with the oldest and ending with the one that changed the world forever. Number 5. The End-Ordovician Extinction. Around 444 million years ago, the continents were arranged in a completely different way. There were no forests, no animals walking on land, and no flowering plants. Nearly all complex life existed beneath the oceans, especially in warm, shallow coastal waters filled with incredible marine creatures. The seas were home to trilobites, brachiopods, bryozoans, crinoids, nautiloids, and countless other ancient organisms. For millions of years, these ecosystems flourished, but the balance of nature would not last. Gradually, coastlines began to shrink as sea levels dropped. Winters became colder and lasted longer. Every year, more snow remained on the ground instead of melting away. Eventually, Earth entered a powerful ice age that lasted hundreds of thousands of years. As the giant continent of Gondwana drifted across the South Pole, enormous glaciers formed. Water became trapped in ice sheets, causing sea levels to fall dramatically. Vast areas of shallow ocean disappeared, destroying habitats where most marine life depended on survival. Eventually, the climate shifted once again. Temperatures rose, glaciers melted, and sea levels rapidly increased. But this recovery brought another disaster. The warming oceans lost much of their oxygen, making survival impossible for countless marine species. When it was finally over, nearly 85% of all marine life had vanished, making this one of the largest extinction events Earth has ever experienced. Number 4. The Late Devonian Extinction. Roughly 360 million years ago, Earth looked very different. For the first time, true forests spread across the continents. Massive trees developed deep root systems that transformed the landscape, creating rich soil and changing the planet forever. Meanwhile, shallow seas once again became centers of extraordinary biodiversity. Gigantic armored fish such as Dunkleosteus ruled the waters as powerful predators. Early filter-feeding fish appeared alongside primitive sharks like Cladosolake. Strange sea scorpions hunted beneath the waves, while trilobites and brachiopods continued to thrive. Something even more remarkable was happening near the shoreline. A few adventurous vertebrates had begun making short journeys onto land. Creatures such as Tiktaalik, Acanthostega, and Ichthyostega represented some of the earliest steps toward life outside the oceans. But nature once again changed the rules. As forests expanded, they absorbed enormous amounts of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Global temperatures slowly declined. At the same time, tree roots broke apart rocks and soil, allowing nutrients to wash into rivers and eventually into the sea. Those nutrients triggered massive algae blooms. As the algae died and decomposed, they consumed huge amounts of oxygen, creating enormous dead zones where marine animals could no longer survive. Over time, roughly 75% of Earth's species disappeared, marking another devastating chapter in the history of life. Number 3. The Permian-Triassic Extinction. Around 252 million years ago, Earth entered one of its most fascinating eras. Nearly every continent had merged together into a single gigantic landmass known as Pangaea. The interior of this supercontinent was extremely hot and dry, while oceans around it teemed with an astonishing variety of life. Ancient reefs flourished alongside ammonoids, crinoids, cartilaginous fish, ray-finned fish, and many other marine organisms. On land, vast forests covered the landscape. Powerful predators such as Dimetrodon and Gorgonopsians hunted enormous herbivores, including Dicynodonts. Early relatives of mammals, reptiles, and countless insects spread across the planet, creating rich and complex ecosystems. Everything seemed to be evolving successfully until an unimaginable geological catastrophe began. In what is now Siberia, enormous volcanic eruptions continued for hundreds of thousands of years. These eruptions released massive quantities of carbon dioxide, methane, and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Global temperatures climbed dramatically. The climate became even hotter and drier. Ocean oxygen levels collapsed, ecosystems failed, and life across both land and sea entered a nightmare unlike anything before. By the end of this catastrophe, around 90 to 96% of marine species and nearly 70% of land vertebrates had disappeared. It remains the greatest mass extinction event ever recorded in Earth's history and is often remembered as the Great Dying. Number 2. The Triassic-Jurassic Extinction. Following the Great Dying, Earth slowly began to heal. Over millions of years, new plants spread across the land, rivers carved fresh landscapes, and surviving animals evolved into entirely new forms. The continents were still connected as the supercontinent Pangaea, surrounded by one enormous global ocean. Much of the land remained hot and dry, with vast deserts stretching for hundreds of miles, while lush vegetation flourished around rivers and coastal regions. Many new reptiles became the dominant animals of this age. Small herbivores like Lystrosaurus spread across the land in huge numbers. One of the earliest dinosaurs, Coelophysis, appeared as a fast and agile predator that hunted in groups. Towering above many other animals was Postosuchus, a massive crocodile-like hunter armed with powerful jaws. During this period, the very first true mammals also appeared. They were small, quiet creatures that lived in the shadows, while reptiles ruled the world. The oceans were equally alive, with extraordinary marine reptiles. Ichthyosaurs became expert swimmers that resembled modern dolphins, while nothosaurs hunted in shallow coastal waters. Coral reefs recovered, and countless new marine species filled the seas once again. For more than 50 million years, life continued to diversify. Then the planet faced another crisis. Deep beneath the surface, enormous volcanic activity erupted as Pangaea slowly began to split apart. Lava poured across the land for hundreds of thousands of years, releasing vast amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Global temperatures increased, oceans became depleted of oxygen, and ecosystems around the world collapsed once more. Approximately 75% of all species disappeared. Yet among the survivors was one small group of animals that had never dominated the planet. While many of the larger reptiles vanished, these resilient creatures found themselves with little competition. They were the dinosaurs. With ecosystems suddenly empty, dinosaurs rapidly diversified and became the undisputed rulers of Earth for the next 135 million years. Number 1. The Cretaceous-Paleogene Extinction. After surviving the previous extinction, dinosaurs expanded into nearly every environment on Earth. During the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods, they evolved into thousands of different species. Some became gigantic plant eaters, such as Brachiosaurus, Diplodocus, and Triceratops. Others evolved into fearsome predators including Tyrannosaurus, Spinosaurus, and Allosaurus. Smaller species adapted to forests, coastlines, mountains, and open plains. The first true birds evolved from feathered dinosaurs, while flowering plants spread rapidly across the continents, supporting an explosion of insects and other wildlife. For millions of years, dinosaurs dominated the planet unlike any group before them. Then came the day that changed everything. About 66 million years ago, high above what is now the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, a massive asteroid raced toward Earth. At first, it would have appeared as nothing more than a tiny point of light in the sky. Within moments, that distant light grew brighter and brighter until it outshone every star above. Animals across the landscape looked upward as the object rapidly approached. Then came the impact. The explosion released more energy than billions of nuclear bombs detonating at the same instant. Everything near the impact site was instantly vaporized. Forests were flattened across enormous distances. Powerful earthquakes shook the planet while colossal tsunamis swept across entire oceans. Soon afterward, molten debris blasted into the atmosphere began falling back to Earth like fiery rain. Wherever it landed, forests, grasslands, and vegetation burst into flames, creating global firestorms unlike anything in Earth's history. Within days, massive clouds of dust, ash, and vapor surrounded the entire planet. Sunlight was blocked for years, plunging much of the world into darkness. Without sunlight, photosynthesis nearly stopped. Plants died, food chains collapsed, herbivores starved, followed by the predators that depended on them. When the catastrophe finally ended, nearly 75% of all life on Earth had disappeared. The age of the dinosaurs was over. Although a few dinosaur descendants survived as modern birds, the giant reptiles that had ruled Earth for more than 160 million years were gone forever. Looking back, It is astonishing to realize that modern humans have existed for only a tiny fraction of Earth's history. Compared with the incredible lifespan of the dinosaurs, humanity has been here for only the briefest moment. Yet, the story of these 5 great mass extinctions reminds us that life on Earth has always been shaped by extraordinary change, and that even the most dominant creatures can disappear when the planet itself decides to rewrite history.